Getting back to starting strongly, let's talk about the markets and your thoughts about them. I noted Mr. Novogratz's last comment there, which was simply, as long as the Fed stays where it is, one would imagine these speculative runs will continue. In that case, he was talking about Tesla, to a lesser extent, perhaps Bitcoin.
Well, look, that's become the consensus view. There's nothing wrong with the consensus view at the beginning of the year. I do think that there are issues that are very much at stake here. If the Senate goes Democratic, which is certainly a possibility, then I think we'd have to rethink how we feel about the market, David, because obviously I think that puts a lot of the tax issues right front and center. Will have made it so that perhaps you should have taken some sales last year. Also, David, I think that putting everything on the Fed once again says that earnings have to be good. I think earnings will be good for a lot of companies, but I want to see the vaccination be good. I think a lot of what's going on in the market is a belief that we're going to vaccinate and that it's going to work. I think that's terrific if true, but at a certain point, if so many people are at the hospitals so far are not around the country are at different levels. But if we don't get a better distribution of the vaccine and we delay a lot of what's supposed to happen in terms of the opening economy, then I think a lot of companies, David, are going to miss their quarters.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, we're back to the subject, obviously, we spent a great deal of time on for throughout last year, which is the movement of the virus through the population. And you mentioned it as well, Jim, a lot of ICU units and a lot of different hospitals they're not at capacity, thankfully, but they're approaching it. And these frontline workers, these healthcare workers, the doctors, the nurses, everybody else in these hospitals have been flat out for so long. They're exhausted, and there's concern whether they can even keep up with what continues to be an influx of patients, even while people are getting the vaccine, but not at the rate that we had hoped they would.
Look, why doesn't somebody I'll call it. The vaccination process was supposed to be terrific. We were supposed to get 20 million people vaccinated by year end. We were supposed to be able to make it so that there was some pattern. There's 50 patterns. Nobody knows what's going on. We have no idea what's happening. Everyone keeps acting, even including Dr. Fauci, I like him, as if this thing's going well. Well, David, if it's going well, why the hell don't we know what's going?
I know.
I mean, we 4 million people. I mean, we got a lot of people in this country. And we all keep acting as if everything is going well. I don't even know if J&J comes out with one that works and is one shot. I don't even know how it's going to get in our arms. It's total disorganization. It's a complete clown show. We can't even get to the people at nursing homes. We can't get to the people who are most logical, which are people at the hospitals. But we all act as if everything's fine. David, if you and I were running this thing, I swear it would be done better. And you and I don't know anything about public health. It's a public health issue, and we all act as if everything's going. Everything's right.
We might know the right people
why is the resistance to talk the truth?
Yeah, we might know the right people to enlist to actually help us execute it. You know, on your point, it's not a function of the availability of the vaccine, which, of course, had been a concern for some time. It's more a function, as you say, of getting it into people's arms. Dr. Gottlieb, who we rely on so often here, of course, was on Squawk Box, as he often is this morning, Jim. Take a listen, because he talked about the fact that doses are being stockpiled, and he's not sure why that's the case.
I don't think you need to be stockpiling all these doses. I think people should be getting the second dose. They should be getting the second dose largely on time. But we can be pushing out more first doses now and be using the future supply that's going to come on the market in the month of January to administer some of those second doses. So you need to stockpile something if you want to make sure there's a smooth transition to the second doses.
But you don't need to be stockpiling as much when you can't seem to even get the first dose in people's arms, Jim.
No, there's no reason to stockpile. It's a total clown show. We know that the medicine is somewhere. We know that the vials have been shipped somewhere. We have no clarity of the process. We don't know who's supposed to get it and who isn't. There are obviously lots of vaccines somewhere. If you wanted to come up with a more stupid way to distribute it, you would. I don't know how you would. We've got Army to private sector, to private sector, to private sector, to public sector, back to private sector, with record-keeping problems, back to public sector, to private sector. Now, David, this is so stupid, but no one wants to say it. It's almost as if we are all pretending. It's a giant Disney movie. And by the way, Disney, I think, goes higher here. There is no way that anybody can come on and be credible and say this isn't a huge joke. But they're all so afraid to call it a joke. Why am I not afraid? Well, in November, I called it out as being that it would be total chaos. You know what? No one wants to call it chaos because then suddenly you're breaking the patina. Look, the president was very forceful this weekend, but he was forceful with Georgia officials.
Yeah, trying to find those votes.
I struggle.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.